You don't understand. I waited all week for that.
Dude,
I wanted to talk to you about it all week.
I
I was
almost
just
texted you 4 separate days about that song, bro. Just that song. I literally would have the message typed up, and then I'd be like, no, just wait. Save it for the podcast. Save it for the podcast.
oh man. Welcome to After Listen, the music discovery and discussion podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Terrio.
And I'm Brandon Lee.
Today we're discussing songs that tell a good story. Some interesting stories at that. As always, you can check the show notes for song links, as well as ways to support the artist. Here on After Listen, we love discussing music and talking about it, but to avoid any issues, here are some quick disclaimers. And we actually got some real ones this time, y'all. Number one, our golden rule, we respect everyone's opinion, regardless of how wrong and terrible it may be. Number two, this episode will feature explicit language. So you have been warned.
Yep. It's coming in hot.
Coming in hot. We're going to be uncensored. We're talking about some crazy stories, and it's going to be explicit as pertaining to the music. So hide your kids, hide your dog, whatever it takes. Don't want no issues. And lastly, we're here just to talk about the music. We don't care nothing about the artists in real life. We're just here to discuss the music.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, we actually got a lot of good stories to get through this week. So we're just going to jump right into it. So Brandon, I'm going to toss it over to you.
Yeah, so we decided this week we're gonna introduce each other's picks instead of introducing our own. So I'm gonna do Terrio's first pick. His first song he had was "Meet the Parents" by Jay-Z, and I think this is my favorite out of all the songs you picked. Jay-Z, just again being masterful lyricist. The song itself, like production wise, beat wise, all that is very on par for Jay-Z. But then just the story itself of like, a lady getting pregnant because she's hanging out with the wild guys that's out, thugging on the streets and stuff, and then she gets pregnant, and then years down the line, the guy like meets his dad on the street because his dad abandoned him because he wasn't dark enough, and like the fact that like the dad killed the son at the end was just like, it was definitely one of those moments where I had like a whiplash. I was like, what? Like it was, yeah, like it was a good, like great, really musical gut punch as I was listening to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like when that song came out, like that was from Blueprint 2. Oh yeah, also bonus disclaimer, spoiler alert. We're talking about some songs that got good storytelling in it, so we're going to kind of ruin.
Yeah, that really should have been a disclaimer. Yeah, we're gonna ruin the awesome story just because we're discussing it and like what makes it a good story and like what we loved about it. So
Exactly.
yeah, if you this might be an episode we recommend if you have not heard any of these songs before you listen to the episode, you go and listen to those just so you have kind of an idea if you care about being spoiled at least.
Absolutely. But yeah, jumping back in. Meet the Parents, that's one of the songs off that album, that classic album that really just stuck with me. Because like the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, just another classic hip hop song or whatever, and listening to it, and then I listened all the way through, and then the message and the double meaning of the message is like, whoa, that's
because that's a good point. You definitely don't. It wasn't until the end of the song that I did realize like, oh, this isn't just a I don't want to say like Jay-Z raps meaningless songs, but not to the same depth of like the story we're getting in this song, like I didn't realize just how deep it was until, like you said, like at the end, and that gut punch comes and you go back and you re-listen to it and you're like, oh my god. Yeah, definitely. Like the first time I was listening, because again, I'm working on it, but I've not fully cured my lack of Jay-Z listening through my life. And this was one of the songs that I've not. It's not popped up as I've been going back through and listening to him of recent. So this was my first time listening to it was for this episode, and I definitely had a similar experience to what you're talking about. Where at first I was like, okay, this is just a pretty good typical rap song. Jay-Z's bringing it like he always does, and then just that. Yeah, the twist at the, I don't know if twist is the right word, but just like the bow where it ties it all together, I guess is a better way to put it.
I mean, I would consider it a little plot twist, so
it
to
is,
speak.
yeah,
because
right.
he's kind of he's telling two parallel stories, and you hear about ISIS and you hear about the kid and you hear about the mom, already lost a son, but you don't know that the person who killed her son is her own baby daddy.
Yeah.
But her baby daddy didn't know that was his son. Then also the fact being that a lot of men are in, people's lives, you know, I mean, it can happen. So it's just like one of those things where it's just like, damn, it just really makes you think.
Yeah, and I just want to say, so I don't know, it was not one of my picks, but I almost picked the song "Dancing with the Devil" by
Hmm.
Immortal Technique. I don't know if you're familiar at all with that song, but it has a very similar theme of like crossing with, like doing like street type stuff like that, and then like
Hmm.
coming across a parent and not knowing it. But it's like I didn't pick it because it's like very much like an edgy, like almost it's not even almost, it's too edgy of a song. Like he was like bringing that edge, like
Hmm.
2004 whenever that song came out. So just I say that just to say I'm glad you picked this song because like the idea of like that story, like what happens in that story is just like it's a heavy topic, right? Like not even knowing like who your dad or who your son is and like accidentally killing them. Like
Hmm.
that's like Shakespearean levels of like story, like plot, right? Like that's like Oedipus type stuff or whatever. Just again, just bragging on Jay-Z and how masterful he is.
I mean, look, the man got talent. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we hate to love it, but we love to hate it at the same
Yeah, right.
time. So, and I had to put that one on the list just to show that I do have some depth. Because the rest of the songs are probably silly and goofy as hell, but that's just me. Uh,
Well, I'll say what I have my thoughts on the sillier songs once we get to them. But
oh,
I got some good thoughts about them. We'll get
all
there.
right, all right, all right. Moving on to the next song. Brandon added the song called "The Drive" by Everyone You Know. I have never heard this song before, and I freaking love this song, dude. It's such a good song.
Me too,
Um,
man.
it's one of those songs where like you just put it on and you instantly see the video. Like
Yeah,
the whole song is the song lyrically is the music video. And I didn't watch the music video. I'm not sure the video even exists for this
I
song.
don't think there is a
I
music video, honestly.
I mean, you really don't need one because like the
No.
song literally like paints the
Yeah, it's
perfect
this
picture.
theater of the mind, 100%.
Yes, and it's just one of those songs where basically like I mean, it has its continuous this its climax and all that stuff, but I just love the progression because like the
Mm-hmm.
chorus has a chorus, but then also there's like subtle changes as the story progresses in each chorus. I
Yep.
love that. I love that aspect of it.
Just those little tweaks. Yeah, if you're like really paying attention to the lyrics, they're like it does like clue you in on like what's happening as the
Yeah,
story is progressing. That yeah, I love that
absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. So like that song is basically about some friends get together at the end of a night or whatever and they all cram in a car and go for a quick drive and then things just escalate quickly and go completely awry. And the moral of the story to me after listening to this song this is the reason why I prefer to drive. I'm not going to be
Yeah,
caught in somebody's backseat. There's six of us crammed in a four-seat car. Cops are showing up.
with
I'm
a whole
freaking
bunch of
out. So
narcotics and a weapon in the glove box.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, like somebody trying to be hard and try to front and got all this stuff in here, and then you running from the cops doing 90 and the 50. Like, I mean, it just caught me. It caught me off guard. Another thing that actually caught me off guard about this song too that I thought was funny because I was listening to it and I was like, okay, that's an accent that
oh,
I
they're
could
definitely
not.
British. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I caught that in the third verse once he started kind of going crazy, but then all the British slang came out. So
Mm-hmm.
all the bruv and fam and all that
Yeah,
stuff started coming out, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, this is where we're at now."
yeah.
So it took me a minute to kind of listen. I almost had to look the lyrics up with that one, but I did it. And I was like, I had to make sure. I was like, let me get some good quality headphones and make sure I actually pay attention to the lyrics on that one. But yeah,
Well, I also like this song because it has like a after the second verse, and I think after
mhm,
the second replay of the chorus, it has the little I don't know if call it a hook or I guess maybe a bridge is probably the technical term, but where
yeah,
it's like oh well, just another story to tell, and like, I think
yeah.
they end the song with that. Like that to me is like really just encapsulates what all the entire song is about because like in that third verse you do get the whole, for me at least, it's like the first time I listened to it for sure, like you get that spike of adrenaline, right? When they're like yelling at each other and you feel
Hmm.
like you're in the car with them as they're going 90 down a highway trying to evade the cops or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then again, spoiling the song, they end up getting away from the cops and it ends with them pulling over and the driver's like, "What were you worried about?" And it's like, it's just another story to tell. That's all it is. This
Yeah,
whole song is just a crazy story that happened one night. Like, it wasn't a life changing event or anything. Just another crazy story to tell. And I don't know. It's kind of beautiful to me.
it was beautiful, but it was also like gaslighting at the same time. Because like I'm sitting there like listening to the song, and he was like the guy turns around, like, "What are you worried about?" I'm just like, "What? Like, why
It's like,
are
dude,
you
my
not
heart is
worried?"
pumping right now. What do you mean? What am I
Right?
worried about?
I'm
I'm
sitting
already
here
listening
like,
to the song.
yeah, I'm the one listening to it like on repeat. I'm just like, yo, like I'm sitting still and I'm like looking around my shoulder for the cops and see like
Right.
somebody trying to come get me. But yeah, like I would say out of the songs you picked, this one was it's a tie for number one.
This one was whenever you picked the topic for us. This was like the first one that came to mind. And this is also one of the songs I was originally going to plan to use this song for another topic.
Hmm.
The topic of you have like one song by this artist in your playlist, like no other songs by them. This is I don't know any other. I've not heard a single other song by these guys.
I mean, you really don't need to. Like, I
But this
mean,
song is
this.
just so good. I randomly heard it one day. I
Mhm.
gave it a thumbs up on YouTube, and now it randomly pops up from time to time. And so, yeah, this was like, I had just heard it. It randomly came up for the first time in a while, like sometime last week. So, whenever you mentioned, like, yeah, I wanted to do this, I was like, oh man, immediately this one came to mind because it just is so evocative, I guess. Like the imagery, like you said, is you really see it clearly in your head. And I love that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, moving on to Terrio's second pick, Full for Love by Petey Pablo.
Petey Pablo.
Basically a song about relationship love troubles and women being, or at least his woman in the song being unfaithful, and him being so in love with her that he keeps coming back anyways.
I would say this song is the Simps anthem.
Yes, that is a great way to put it. Like, it definitely was comical, like the very last line where he calls her and he's like, hey baby, what's up? And she's like, hey Derek, and he's like, Derek, and then she's like, Pablo. Like, it definitely had me cracking up. But yeah, no, this is definitely, the Simps anthem is a great way to put it, because it is very much like the first verse he's talking about how she's like cheating on him and stuff or whatever,
Mhm.
and then he goes on to talk about how, like, he's not mad anymore, he still loves her, he called her up, said he's got some of her stuff, and like they reconnect or whatever, and then like I just said in the third verse, she's doing it again. So it's just like, come on, Petey.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like y'all been broke up for years. You still keep going back to it. And the whole song is like the fact being he was like, I'm caught up in something worse than drugs.
Yeah.
I'm motherfucking food for love. And I was just like, you know what? There are some people out there in this world
Oh,
that
shoot, I've
no
known people
matter
like that.
what, no matter what, like stay away from him. But I love him. I love her. Like, no,
Yeah.
get away from that
They're
person.
bad. You are bad for each other. Please stop. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So like that one, I just had to pick because it's just funny to me that like Petey Pablo's known for raised up North Carolina, aggressive, but then also the fact being that he can just put out a song about being a simp and be
Right.
confident about it, which is
Hey,
kind of funny
man.
to me.
You got to own your simpiness.
Absolutely,
One thing I will say is, obviously, Petey Pablo was, what was he, like, 05, 08, like around that time? Maybe a
somewhere
little
around
bit
there, I
before or
think.
after. That's somewhere like, early to late 2000s, I feel like, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
Like, I definitely listened to him, and it's been since around that time, really, since I had like actually listened to any of his songs. I forgot. Was it the grill? He has a lisp when he's rapping. I don't know if you noticed in some of his songs. Is it because that was like the grill? Like everyone had grills, and like whether you were actually used to them and wore them confidently or not, or
I
like,
mean,
is that
it
just
could be.
him?
It could have been that. I just know like his voice, he kind of has that raspy kind of voice, and also the fact being that he's singing and harmonizing while he raps as well. So he kind of has that. I would say old school Baptist deacon kind of
That's
harmonizing kind
yeah.
of Lord, like that kind of ground that gravitas or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
None
That's
of these
pretty
words
fair.
probably
That's
make
a
any
yeah.
sense, but that's the best way I can describe it.
No, old Southern Baptist deacon is like, for me at least, the perfect thing you could have said. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Only reason
Yeah.
I just bring it up because like I caught like again as I was listening I was like, is that a lisp? Is that because he's got grills in his mouth? Like, what is that? Just is this like you said, raspiness? It
Mhm.
didn't like. I don't want to say it was like a negative thing. It's just something like once I noticed it, I couldn't unnotice it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that does
And so
make
I
sense
was
for
like,
sure.
it was kind of taking me out of it. I had to like kind of try to force myself to ignore it. But again, it was a funny song. I dug it.
Absolutely.
It's been a long time since I've listened to Petey Pablo, so it was kind of nice, like a throwback, just to hear his voice again.
Yeah, and for those who may not be aware, he is still out here. So he actually released a couple of new songs. I want to say in 2022. They're not
Really?
bad. Yeah, it's
I had
independent.
no idea.
It's super independent. Petey went through a whole journey. He was on Jive, major record label, then went to Death Row Records for a hot second, and then other stuff happened. But he's back independent, so we'll talk about Petey somewhere down the line. But
Okay, yeah, I
yeah,
definitely love to dive into that at some point.
oh yeah,
So
it's great.
I honestly thought he was like
Just MIA.
retired, just yeah, just living life somewhere, you know.
No. He's still out there kicking. Like I said, honestly, like the stuff he did on the West Coast was actually some pretty good stuff. But I don't think too many people heard it because it was that whole Suge Knight, Death Row, and now that Snoop Dogg owns Death Row, maybe he'll go back. Who knows? Moving along. Next pick from Brandon was the classic "Cats in the Cradle" by Harry Chapin. So this song, ugh, okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to skirt this and not offend anybody. I've heard this song before. The first time I heard this song, I got extremely emotional.
It is an emotional song.
It's
I'll
a very
agree.
emotional song, and I want to preface this. Everything is good now. We have no issues now. Everything is fine. However, the first time I heard this song many years ago, I probably want to say probably at least about 15 years ago, I would say that this song it struck a nerve because I was going through something similar um, with the whole dad thing and all that stuff. So I was really caught in my feelings. And to make it worse, I heard the song with a montage video of like all the dads coming and like save their kids and all that stuff. So when you put this on the list, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to talk about this one, and keep it genuine. So I was very familiar with this song. This song is definitely it's a gut punch, but it's a good gut punch. But it's also it really makes you think about time and the fact being that
Yeah,
time it will be here in a second, and the next thing you know is like everything you're trying to prevent or everything you're trying to do. No, that's not really what I want to say. I guess ultimately, um, every action has a consequence,
yeah,
whether it's positive or negative. So you may have the best intentions, and whatever happens, happens, and we have no control over that. But you definitely want to try to lead by the best example because the whole song is about him not being there for his kid. And then as he's getting older, his kid is not there for him. And there's nothing malicious about it. It's just that, there's just two ships passing in the night. And then towards the end, he's like, my boy is just like me. Like the same thing that happened to me. Like I was just too
yeah.
busy. I missed his first steps. I missed this and I missed that. And again, it's nothing malicious about it, but it's just,
No, because he's out, trying to provide for his family. He's out
ex-
working, making sure his kid has all the things he needs to survive and thrive. But yeah, like you said, it does have a consequence of if you're leaving to go work to provide for your family, you're not there with your family. And yeah,
exactly.
it's this is one of those songs, man, that like I first heard this as a very as a young child, pretty much.
Hmm.
And like the first time I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old, right? Whenever I heard the first time about dad, like he had a similar I guess whenever he first heard the song, he had a similar moment to you where
Hmm.
like him and my his dad and my grandfather had kind of had that similar situation where like my grandfather worked on he would go out on like fishing boats, so he was like a fisherman sometimes. He worked on like oil rigs, like he did a lot of stuff where he was like gone for most of the year, right? So like this for my dad, like I remember him telling me about it, and like as a kid, like him like kind of choking up talking about it, and so like it's always had like a
Hmm.
bit of meaning just from that for me because like I'm like, oh, it means a lot to him. He shared that with me, and like I've always had that connection. Now, as an adult, and this is, I am kind of constantly reminded of this because this is one of those songs that plays on the radio at work all the time. So this
Oh,
song is not like
that's just torture.
sometimes, but it is kind of nice because it reminds me, like, oh, like talking about it or like listening to it for this episode over this last week. Um, Kind of made me stop and think like, oh, I've not talked to my dad and like since Christmas. I've not like called or talked to my parents like at all since Christmas. That's like been a couple months now. So I called my dad, and now we're planning to like take a vacation in a few months together. Like it is an emotional song, but I feel like for me, it's like there's a little bit deeper meaning and like connection between me and my own father with it. So like
Hmm.
every time I hear it, like I immediately think of, which I guess most people probably think of their dads, but
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's again, it's just one of those songs that just really just tugs at the heartstrings and just really
Mm-hmm.
make you think of time and just the fact being that we all try to do the best we can for the people we love, and sometimes sacrifices have to be made, and because of those sacrifices you can't be there for every moment. But again, it's not anything malicious. We always
Yeah.
still make the plans to, oh yeah, I'll get back to you, just I'm busy right now, like the dog was crazy, the kids got the flu, but I would love to see but it's just one of those things where it's just like, damn, like when I want to see you, I want to see you, and it's kind of
Yeah.
it's just one of those songs. But yeah, I appreciate you putting it on there, but also hate you at the same time because I'm not was not trying
Well,
to have those kind of emotions.
okay, if you want to listen to the song and like not have those emotions, I only realized this again this last week. I watched a live version of him performing the song Harry Chapin.
Hmm.
Okay, first of all, he does not look in my head at all how I pictured him. I never
Okay.
actually saw the guy until this. And just his face as he's singing was cracking me up a little bit.
Okay.
Because he gets like his face gets really animated with it. It's
Oh
hard to
wow.
explain until you see it. It's not like super over the top, but it's just enough for me to like. Okay, it makes the song as I'm watching that specific video, it makes it a little less serious. Like I'm able to laugh a little bit. All right, well, moving on to Terio's third pick,
Yep, we're on number 3.
Pimp Council by Disturbing the Peace was the group name, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It was from a compilation album.
Right, featuring Ludacris, Too Short, Shawnna, and Lil Fate. This one had me absolutely cracking up. Um, so again, a little bit about like my background when it comes to music. I wasn't super into rap like around the time when like the whole I don't even know how else to say it besides like the pimping era of rap
Hmm.
music. Which if you were around in that era, like I remember if something was cool, it was pimping. Like that was the slang at the time, right? Or at least part
Yeah,
of it.
part
Well,
of it. Yeah.
for my age, I will say
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
my 14, 13 year old age group at the time. Um, so I was like peripherally aware of like this like how do I want to say it? Like the a character almost doesn't feel like enough of what I'm trying to say, but like the character, for lack of a better word, of like them being like the pimp type person in the
Yeah.
songs, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like a what's the word? A caricature
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah,
pimp
yeah, yeah.
culture. Like it's really not like not real
Exactly.
pimp culture, but it's like a heightened version of it for sure.
Yeah, and so just the whole song where it's like each featured artist is getting another pimp crime that they've broken or are being charged of breaking, and they're being like presented to the judge and pleading their cases or whatever. It's just man, it was a different time of rap whenever that like that's like this song and that those types of songs came out. It's, like you said at the beginning, like it's very silly, but I was literally cracking up the entire song. It was actually the first song as I was listening to the playlist. It was the first song that after it ended, instead of like me going on to the next song, I just restarted it because I was
Hmm.
like, okay, let me let me go back. Who was getting busted for what now? Who did what? Who's what's their defense? Like it was just oh man, it's a good one. Yeah,
I love it.
it
I
had me
love
cracking
it.
up.
Oh yeah, yeah. So basically, on this song, Too Short is the judge of the
Hmm.
Superior Pimps Council, Pimps Court, and Ludacris, Shawnna, and Lil Faye are all on trial, and each rapper has to plead their case, and Too Short renders his verdict towards the towards the end of their verses.
And
It,
Ludacris was the only one who got out, who got off.
Ludacris was the only one that got off, but even then, like I'm like listening to his lyrics. I was like, nah, man, he should have been locked up too,
Yeah, right.
technically. But like, it's just I love that whole era of Disturbing the Peace and Ludacris when he's first coming out because it was I love when hip hop was fun and just silly.
Yeah.
Like the Redmans and the Ludacris's, like all this, the whole skit era. Like I love
Hmm.
that, that time frame.
You definitely don't get like this style of skits anymore because again like I said it's I feel like kind of in that era but even just like outside of that there's not a whole lot of skits. I mean you do get it randomly sometimes but Yeah, there's just not a whole lot of just like cutting loose and having fun with it. I feel like a lot of it is so serious nowadays.
Well, it's serious and everything is short because of the way the music industry is set up now. So now everything is basically a album is a collection of singles versus a full body of work like it
Yeah,
used to
that's
be.
true too. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
back in the day, the whole point was to press play and just let it ride
Let
through
it
whatever
ride, and
song.
it was one journey, not 12 little journeys together, right? And
Exactly.
nowadays, it definitely feels like the latter of what I just said. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I figure like when we came up with the topic, like this was one of my first picks. I was
yeah,
like, it's like this song is so silly, and it's like I was like, but it's still funny though. I love it.
it
It's
is
one of
pretty
my
great.
favorites. All right. Speaking of silly and funniness, let's move on to Brandon's pick, Pillow Talking, Little Dicky, featuring B Rain, aka Brain. This one I've heard before too, but it's been a long time since I heard it. So when you put it on the list, I was like, "Oh my god, why did I not pick this song?" This is also my tie for number one.
Yeah, so along with the drive, this was like immediately the second song that popped in my head that I knew for sure was going to be on the list.
It's so great. Like the song is 10 minutes long.
Yeah, kind of the opposite of what you were just saying. Music is being shorter. This is the one of the rare cases of it, it not going outside of the standard.
Exactly, and actually making sense. It's 10 minutes long. It doesn't even feel like 10 minutes.
Mm-mm.
But in general, a quick synopsis of the song is Lil Dicky has a Tinder date from hell, and after having fun and doing the thing, they just get into the weirdest conversation of all time, and then it just goes on and on and on, and it's funny because like when listening to it multiple times, it's like yeah, she was kind of dumb and really didn't make a lot of sense. But also, Little Dicky should also post in Reddit slash Am I the asshole?
Oh yeah,
Because because I was just like, why you asking stupid questions like, do you fuck with Lamar? And then like expect to get like a straight answer back. I was like, man,
which
like
also for anyone who's not heard the song, Little Dicky, excuse me, does sing or rap both parts. He raps both himself and his date.
and his brain.
And his brain, like it says featuring brain, but it's literally his brain, his own brain is on the track with like altered voice or whatever.
Hmm.
And you may not know, but he actually has some other small side projects that he's like 4 or 5 songs that are like brain as like the main artist.
Wow,
Yeah,
brain released the EP.
yeah,
I'm so bad at
with like
that.
featuring Lil Dicky, which is
I'm
interesting.
I'm so bad at that. I did not know that exists. Why
Yeah,
does
I'll have
that
to send it
exist?
to you. There's a couple that are pretty funny, but they're not as good as his other stuff. I feel like, in my opinion. But anyways,
Yeah, I could say like after listening to this song again, I could see why he ended up getting his own show. Because like the
hmm
fact being that like again, it's a rap song. He's acting as his Tinder date that came over at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they had this stupid conversation. He's rapping as himself. He's rapping as his brain, literally arguing with all three of them and acting all at the same time.
yeah,
So
he's
I could
he's a
see
really creative dude.
absolutely, absolutely. So
He's
yeah,
great at telling stories like that are kind of intricate and whatnot. But yeah, this is whenever this song first came out in like 2015 or so, maybe somewhere around there, maybe 2016, 2017. I don't. It came out several years back now,
yeah.
but I have had similar situations as what's being portrayed in the song. So it's like I can connect to that. Like literally almost verbatim, I've had conversations like post date with a girl where we start talking about aliens and it just goes off the rails so quick. And that's like the first half of the song is him talking about aliens and
Yeah.
like what would happen if they invaded and stuff. So like just this song, it's like hard for me not even as many times as I've heard this song. Like I literally, it's one of those songs. It's 10 minutes long, and I can rap every single word without missing any. Almost just about as many times as I've heard it, it still cracks me up just because I do have that. I mean, it's a funny song, but I also have that, like personal connection. I can always like point back with my own self and just laugh about. So
Oh yeah, like no doubt about it. Like this song should come with a trigger warning for sure because it's just
yeah,
like it's like certain people you can have a conversation with, and they just have to be what's the word obstinate about everything you're doing. Just like, I can't do this. This is bad. I'm like work with me. Like I'm trying to compromise, but you're not even trying to compromise, and then your rationale and your got conflicting principles. I'm just like. Like I felt his frustration towards the end of the song where he was just like, I don't, what do you want? Like, I don't,
Right.
I can't.
I
You
just
know
don't
what?
like
I'll
these
just sleep on the
conflicting
floor.
principles. Like
Yeah,
that line is like it sums up the entire song for me.
yeah. He was like, look, I'll just sleep on the floor. And the fact being that, like, even to the very last, like second of the song, he is trolling her.
Oh, is that my Uber? Nah, I ordered pizza.
I ordered a pizza, extra pepperoni. You don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah, it is great.
Yeah, because she's a vegan. So it just, yeah, I love it. I love it. Like, no notes. The song is flawless. I feel like there was a music video for it at one point. I think that I
Oh, there
seen.
definitely is a music video where they have an animated brain hops up on the
Okay,
bed.
that's what I thought.
John C.
Yeah.
Riley plays God.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's. I would recommend if you've never listened to the song, watch the video as your like first time. I think it will enhance. Even if you've listened to it and you've not watched the video, definitely watch the video. It will enhance your listening experience with that one
No doubt.
for sure. Well, all right. Well, we're going to take just a very quick break here, and we will be back momentarily to finish talking about the rest of our epic story picks.
Yeah. And we are back.
Welcome back.
Awesome. All right, so moving along, we're gonna get into Brandon's pick, his next pick. 18 in Life by Skid Row. Um, I have never heard of this song before. Um, it's okay. I wasn't really blown away by it. Um, Granted, I've been forced to listen to a lot of hair metal bands and stuff, at my job. So I'm used to like the Foreigners and the White Snakes and all of that. So it definitely, has that vibe.
Oh,
Um,
for sure. Yeah.
so while listening to it, I was just like, okay, what is this song telling me about? So, because in between all the screaming and stuff, it was kind of hard to kind of hear like some of the lyrics. But yeah, basically the story is about basically somebody turning 18, thinks he's grown, picks up the bottle, and just kind of just starts wilding out. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, I think you might not have maybe didn't pay close enough attention to like it's like the very last end of the final verse. So I'll break it down for you. So you are right. It is about a guy, Ricky. Um,
Mm-hmm.
18 talks about how
Ricky was a young boy.
yeah, like the first 75 80% of the song is just talking about how it's kind of like it introduces Ricky and says, he's kind of going wild, and then it has the verse or the chorus rather of 18 in life, and you're like, okay, why is it 18 in life? Like someone who's like on in prison or whatever, like waiting to be have their execution. And then the next verse comes in and Ricky does, gets a little bit more wilder. And then the very last verse is him. I'd have to look at the lyrics. I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but basically he's like, hold my beer, look at this, and ends up
Mm-hmm.
killing a kid because he's drunk and shoots a gun. And so like the very last line is like killed a
Mm.
little boy or a little girl. I forget which one it is. And so that's why he's 18 in life, because he was just a young, dumb kid wilding out,
Uh-huh.
made a stupid mistake, shot a gun randomly. It happened to hit a kid.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that one.
It is.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you. His the singing does not make it easy to kind of pick up on the lyrics on this song. I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is another one of those songs that, like, again, my dad. I think this is just. I don't know if it has necessarily like a deeper meaning to him, because I don't think he's like had anyone in his life that's like been through anything like what the song's talking about, as far as I know. But it is, I think, one of those songs that for him, like, because he was big, like whenever the hair metal bands were coming up, that's whenever he was like teenager into young like adult
Mm-hmm.
age, and that was like definitely the style of music like he was like really big into at the time.
Yeah.
And I think this was just maybe one of those like a good example of him as a young man like hearing a song that was like, oh, like music can like tell a story like this, and so that's why it meant so much to him. And
Mm-hmm.
so he would play this song a lot as a kid. I guess it's one of his favorite songs, like I said. And him just even as a young kid, like him explaining to me like the meaning behind the song. um, just always has had this. This was another one. This wasn't an immediate one of the songs that I wanted to put on the list, but as soon as like we were kind of sitting here talking on call together or whatever, and you mentioned like wanting to mix it up and maybe throw some like rock songs or stuff. As soon as you said that, this
Mm-hmm.
song was like,
Pop right in there, huh?
yeah, I was like, oh man, that's like immediately this one popped in my head, just because again, like I have that, um, since I was a kid, I've kind of had this song as like an example of, oh, this is a good song. Like, we'll tell a story, and it kind of hits you at the end, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I mean, like ultimately, it's not a bad song. It's just to me, it's just one of those songs that just didn't hit me like that. Because I don't have that nostalgia for that era like that. Now, granted, like I said, I do like some songs, and in that time frame, but I've came across some people that just if I don't know this Aerosmith song, like I was like the spawn of Satan. It was like, I'm sorry, that's not my jam. But
Right.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, it was one of those songs I listened to, and I was kind of like, okay,
Yeah. Well, I will say I definitely. I mean, I'm not a huge hair band 80s rock band like a fan. Like, there's just it's really just like randomly songs like. I'm kind of a fan of this song, but again, it's more so just because like it popped in my head because of the connection and like listening to it from my dad growing up, more than like this is one of my favorite classic rock songs I got to put on. It
hmm
just, yeah, but it is. I mean, it is good. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of hair metal, but again, it just fit the theme.
yeah,
It was very quickly in my head once we started talking about or thinking about songs that have like stories that conclude nicely like that.
yeah.
Okay, on to Terrio's next pick. Um, this one was near the top for me, I think, honestly, of my favorites for what you picked. So it's He Had It Coming, or is Cell Block Tango the official name? Like, He Had It Coming is like, I was kind of confused on that, on what is, or is it just as all of that the name Cell Block Tango in parentheses He Had It Coming?
Kind of, sort of like that.
If you told someone he had it coming, they'd probably know what you were talking about, right? More than if you just said cell block tango, or maybe I'm wrong in thinking that.
I would say the correct answer is yes.
Okay, that's about what I should have expected. So this song is by. Let me get to that part. This song is by Queen Latifah and Lil Kim, featuring Macy Gray. It's basically just a one long song about how they beat up, stabbed, basically got back at their man's
hmm
because, as the song says, he had it coming. And they're basically like, I think a lot of the song at least is like them like rapping like they're talking to a judge and like saying stuff like, "If you were there, you would have done the same." And it's just like you don't hear enough songs like this from women artists. I feel like you get stuff like this all the time from like men artists, but it was just nice to hear. It's nice to hear Queen Latifah because I'm not really listening to Queen Latifah like hardly at all, so that was kind of cool. He had it coming. Like it's one. This was the one out of all of the songs on the list. This was the one that got stuck in my head. I would just be at work. He had it coming. Da, da, da.
Had itself to blame.
Yeah, it's catchy, man.
It's super catchy, and then so here's the thing. So this song came off of the Chicago soundtrack that Queen Latifah was a part of, like the movie. So she played, I think,
Mm.
Mama Morton, and so it's an actual Broadway play and everything, and she actually like really sings and everything. This song is a hip hop version of the song "Cell Block Tango," which kind of has the same theme, but
Oh,
so that's why, like, when you were asking the song titles, I was like, yes, because like this, I guess the Broadway song is called "Cell Block Tango," where Mama Morton,
okay.
does her song, he had it coming, or however it goes, and then this is the hip hop version of that. So this, I don't know how I stumbled across this. I just happened to, I don't know. I guess I was going down a little Queen Latifah uh discography or something. And I was just like, Queen Latifah and Lil Kim? What?
Yeah,
And Macy
that was
Gray?
the first thing. Whenever you added it, I was like, okay. That's, I was pretty interested to get to that one as I started because it's a few songs down. So
yeah,
I
yeah. I
was like,
put
this
that
one's gonna
down.
be interesting a little bit. I wonder how that's gonna sound. Like I was as I was listening to the other songs before, and I was still thinking like, how's that one gonna be?
Yeah, honestly, and that's like kind of the like reason I put it on there, because look, so being a little transparent, like this one was a hard one. Like, you think this is a lot of songs that we're talking about? We have infinite like amounts more that we wanted to put on here, but we try to give a nice little concise. So there will be a part two and a three and a four down the line. So brace yourself for it. We're going to talk about this a lot because there's so many good songs out there that tell a great story or a great narrative that we couldn't possibly fit it all into one concise
For
list.
sure, yeah.
But like this one, I wanted to get the females' perspective on different things because we got the Food for Love and the Pimp Council and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm coming
I
across a little
definitely
misogynistic.
appreciated that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a
So,
bit.
so I was like, the ladies need a voice, and I was like, what's a good song where the ladies kind of go off on the dudes? And I was like, Cell Block Tango and freaking Macy Gray. And you know what, Macy Gray is polarizing, but I'm actually a fan of her voice.
I liked it.
Like,
I'm not. I don't. I'm sure I've heard her in other stuff because that name like is immediately familiar to me. I just can't like place any specific songs. But yeah, I had zero
well,
issues with her in this song.
yeah, I love her raspy, unconventional voice. I freaking
Yeah,
love it.
I dig it.
It's
Like, yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's honestly like that voice style, I guess, or sound.
mhm.
I don't know how you word that, but that sound of voice is honestly a little attractive to me. I would say, kind of like
Okay.
smoky, husky, raspy type. Yeah,
All right.
maybe
Okay,
a little bit
Macy.
TMI into me.
Hey, you know what? Hey, it's all good. Just look out, Macy. You just might be a wild Brandon on the loose. Who knows? All right, moving along. Sliding down over to Brandon's next pick, Kendrick Lamar, Duckworth. Um, so I'm gonna say something controversial with this one. Uh, how can I put this? I love Kendrick Lamar. He's super talented, but even then, sometimes his stuff kind of goes over my head. And granted, this week has been a week, so it could be me. So I'm giving myself an operator error for sure. I've listened to this song so many times, and I get certain points of it, but I feel like I'm still missing something of it. Like I feel like it's either one or two things. It's either telling the story of him or telling the story of his father or something. Because it's weird because how it says like we're gonna tell in reverse. Then it kind of goes through this whole narrative, this whole long story about this guy and selling chicken and two biscuits and all this other stuff. But then if this weren't to happen and that wouldn't happen, then he wouldn't have existed or something along those lines. I could be
Yeah.
completely missing the point,
Well, no,
but
that's pretty much it. It's basically just a story about how he's talking about there's Andy and then there's Ducky and Andy's like a
mhm,
thug or whatever and he's out
yeah,
like doing gang stuff or whatever and he's basically gonna rob the like KFC or whatever
yeah,
place
whatever
that
low,
Ducky. And
yeah,
then just because Ducky was a nice guy and like I'd heard that there had been like violence in this specific store, like the manager had died or got shot or whatever a month before, like he was specifically nice to people that would come in and like look a little shady or whatever, give him extra biscuit, extra chicken or whatever. And
hmm,
basically just saying like if that hadn't have happened and Ducky would have got shot, then he would have died and I would have grown up without a father and I might not be here today. um
exactly.
I definitely agree with you that this one in a vacuum is a little bit difficult to parse because the album this song came off of, Damn, and especially the
Hmm.
extended version is one of the few, I feel like, at least a few like good examples of artists doing exactly what you were talking about a minute ago, where the whole album is it's a complete narrative, story, theme, whatever. You're supposed to pop it in, hit play, and listen to the entire thing to get the full experience.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think that if you within the context, and again, as someone who's like a huge Kendrick Lamar, and I've probably listened to that album, damn, like untold countless number of times. Um, it definitely does have a little bit more meaning once you have those other songs as like a reference point and like how it all connects together. Um, but yeah, essentially, you were correct. That is essentially just like it is. I guess you could argue it's a song about how like it's about him in a sense because it's about if all this would have happened, he wouldn't have been able to go on the trajectory he did to become or like get where he is today. But I think
Exactly.
it's more so like a background, just a random story of like I think like right at the end of the song where he's talking about like give two human people, give them souls, make them make their own decision where they have to live with it and see what happens. I think that's
Hmm.
kind of like the whole theme of it is like choices have consequences and whether it's a good or bad choice like 20 years down the road you could have never thought in that moment where Andy is about to go shoot up this store and decided not to that this
Hmm.
would lead to one of the best rap artists of all time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit ego inflated, but I mean, it is Kendrick, so
I mean, no, no, I
it's
mean,
also
no, it
rap.
makes sense. Yeah, it's. I mean, ego is like
Yeah,
it's hand to hand. It's
yeah,
part of the art. You know,
exactly.
like there's no rapper saying, "Hey, I'm the most mediocre rapper of all time." Like nobody's out there wearing that. But
I
yeah,
bet there is
so
someone somewhere. We should try and find that guy.
you know what? There probably is. It's probably like little Dicky 2.0 out there. Like,
Yeah,
hey, I'm average,
yeah.
average Dicky. Wow, but well, that got recorded anyway. But yeah, well, Kendrick is just again like listening to the song and the way the song was formatted. I felt like there was more missing to it, and it was for the same exact reasons that you mentioned. Was I felt like the way the song started and the way the song ended, that it was a continuation or a
Yeah.
conclusion of something, and just listening to it by itself, you don't get the full picture.
Um,
And I don't know where it ends on the album because I listened to the album.
I think
Damn,
it's the first song.
really?
Hold on, I'm
Why
trying
do
to
I feel
pull it
like it's the
up.
last song?
On the collector's edition, at least, it's the first song.
Oh, okay.
But there's, I don't know 100% how true it is, but there's, because he's not, I don't think Kendrick has come out and like explicitly said, but there's arguments, especially with the collector's edition, that like the story, like the first half of the album is like one story, and then it's like either a parallel story in the second half or like the same story, but like told in reverse or something weird. Um, so that's why you get like you were talking like the like at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's definitely like playing into that in some way. Um, but yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
definitely adds
Because
more
it.
context with the rest of the album.
Okay. So I just pulled it up real quick for reference. So it was the last song on the album.
On the
As far as
original,
on the original, not the
hey, okay, you're
collectors.
right. On the original, and then they okay on the
Yeah,
collectors they flipped it. Blood is the last song, and Duckworth is the first.
interesting.
I think that
So
was where that theory of like he's doing like the or what I said before. I think that's where that came from. Whenever the collectors came out.
yeah, just flipping it around, doing a Missy Elliott, flipping it and reversing it.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where like I admire Kendrick. The guy is super talented, super smart. It's just you got to be in the right headspace to listen to Kendrick, unless he's popping up as a feature. If he's featuring, he's just you might as well just get off the track because he's going to body you.
Yeah.
But it's just listening
It
to his
is.
album, you definitely have to be in the right headspace
You
to
got to be in the right
process
headspace,
everything.
and you almost have to like sit there with a pen and notepad, like writing
Seriously, you
stuff
got to
down and
be.
like deeply analyzing it, or do what I do sometimes and just pull up Genius and like cross reference what your own thoughts are with what they're saying.
I mean, yeah, you got to do homework to listen to his music
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's pretty lyrically deep for sure. Well, on to Terrio's next pick, um, "Dark Days" featuring YungBuk by Twista. I gotta be honest, this was much like you just said. This was a song where I listened to it several times, and I'm not 100% sure what like the narrative story was. I dug the song like out of the gate. The first like couple of lines was like "ladies and gentlemen" and "ladies and aliens," and like just Young Buck coming in with his silky smooth like
Hmm.
flow and tone in that first verse just like drew me in. And of course, Twista always goes buck wild anytime
Absolutely.
he's on a song. So he absolutely murdered it at the end. But yeah, I was listening. Actually, was listening to it. I listened to it back to back right before I hopped on here to record this episode because I was still trying
Hmm.
to figure out like, okay, what is like the overarching story of this? Like, it's a great song. I love the song.
Hmm.
I love the song, but I was hoping you can enlighten me a little bit. Maybe I was
Okay.
just going. This one was going over my head.
Yeah. So basically, I was gonna make this song fit one way or the other because the song is so damn good.
It is
Uh,
a really good song. I'm
it's,
whether it
it's
fits or not. I'm happy you put it on here just so I was forced to listen to it over and over again this week because it was
absolutely,
very enjoyable for me.
absolutely. So the argument I'm making for this song in particular is the way Young Buck from Psychodrama, not to be confused from Young Buck from G Unit. This is the Young Buck from Psychodrama that predates Young Buck from G Unit. For
Isn't the
the
one from G Unit like BUCK?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
this
This is
one's
this.
YUNGBUK.
Yeah, I think this is. I think that was mainly like semantics because of all the litigations and all that stuff. But ultimately, for those fans who are familiar with Twista's work, Young Buck and Twista go way back. Young Buck
Mm.
from Psychodrama Drama, they go way back to Twista's first album, Adrenaline Rush, and like he's like they do frequent collaborations to where usually like YungBuk is always like on the first song from Twista's album, and it's always the contrast between his voice and Twista's
It's it
voice.
is it is a nice contrast. I mean, I feel like I can't really stress that enough. Like you come in like again, you come in with him
Hmm.
smooth, velvety, and
Hmm.
like it just really just the tempo of it just draws you in. And then as you're drawn in, that Twista just comes in, and it's like, oh god, yes, get it, Twista. You get from like drawn in to just like yeah, just like super high out of nowhere. It's oh man, it's so good.
It's so good. So basically, like this song "Dark Days," the way I look at it is like the way YungBuk narrates the song. To me, feels like a good storytelling situation. So ultimately, it's a bang 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 shoot 'em up kind of song. But just the way YungBuk narrates the song and gets you into the song, it kind of gets you in the mind frame of someone who would potentially have to use, a gun or defend himself in some form or fashion. So that's the way when I first heard the song. Number one, soul, just because it's twisted and the way the song is set up, but just the way, just how he really narrates the chorus, it kind of just puts you in like somebody is like painting a picture.
Dude, yeah,
So
the chorus in particular was
yeah,
yeah, painting a picture is that's man. Props to you on how you just worded that because that's literally like yeah, it's just mm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no notes, and then again, my number one complaint about this song is this is a new song. Twist has been in the game for many decades now, so this is a recent song from him. I think this song came out in either 2022 or 2023, somewhere around there. But this song, he had to follow the norm of making a song less than 3 minutes. This song could have easily been 7.5 minutes long, and I would not have batted a tear or eyelash. I would have just been sitting here, just like, okay, can you give me some more? Like the song is so good. So the fact that it's like the shortest song on our playlist, the song was like on like 2 minutes or something, and the fact being that we both had to listen to it 5 or 6 times in a row, not because we wanted to parse the lyrics, it's because the song is so good. And
Yeah.
then the fact again, I just love how it's just narrated very well, and then they kind of go into it, and then YungBuk just illustrated, and me being a music producer mind frame that I am, the fact that he's like, ladies and gentlemen, aliens, whoever who can listen, we over here destroying Ableton Reason and Fruit of Loop beats. I'm just like,
Which,
I
dude,
look,
honestly, I'm not like usually super like listening to the production. The beat on this track is it's dark and
mm-hmm,
ominous
yes,
and uh, it's hard to like put into words. Just the feelings it evokes, like just the beat by itself. I could listen to that just by itself and I still love it because it's like
absolutely,
do, 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 do. Like
yep.
oh man, it's yeah.
And the choir and all that stuff.
The
So yeah, that's the word I was looking for, ominous. So yeah, so the narration and the ominous nature of the production and the way the vocal delivery, it just really puts you in that mindset
It puts you in
of
a dark room with like rain
yeah,
going on outside and like yeah,
yeah,
there's like a murder that just happened. Like that's like the
exactly.
vibe you're getting for sure throughout
Yeah,
the just from the beat, and then you add everything else. Yeah.
absolutely. Like I guarantee that like somewhere down the line, somebody's gonna use the song for a movie trailer. It's
Oh,
gonna
if
be
it's not happened already,
exactly.
yeah, no, I could easily see that. Which, just for the record, you were right. 2021 is when the album came out. That Dark Days is off of.
Sweet.
But man, yeah, that okay. That one, I just want to say, just pure listening wise, might have been my favorite. But as far as like for the discussion, I don't know if it
Hmm.
was my favorite. But pure
Oh,
listening wise, I think like this was the one. Like I'm definitely gonna be listening to this one like weekly from now on, probably.
I mean, I am literally listening to it right now in my other ear.
Okay,
No, I'm just kidding. But it
I
is a good
wouldn't even
song.
blame you if you were, honestly.
You'd be like, okay, pause. We're gonna pause the podcast just to listen to this song one more
Yeah,
time.
right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, now moving on to the last song from Brandon's playlist. Not playlist, but the songs chosen for this topic. "Wet Dreams" by J. Cole. This song needs no explanation because I will say, no matter what you're into or who you're into, if you are a male identifying person, this is something you're probably going to go through,
Uh huh.
at one form or fashion. And the fact that he sat there and rapped my entire life, I don't appreciate that. Like
Yeah, I've
I'm a,
definitely felt like attacked a little bit first time I heard the song. I was like, man, was he looking
absolutely
at my diary? What's up with this?
right. I'm just like, yo, like this is like Get out of my head, J. Cole. So,
Yeah.
but it's basically a classic coming of age story. First time being intimate with somebody, particularly, with the girl that you really love or whatever. Um,
As a young man in particular, and like the anxiety, the stress, the uncertainties, the like fake confidence and gravitas he tries to like come with whenever he's interacting with her, like just everything about it, like you said, is like, if you it's hard to imagine someone who didn't experience at least parts of what this song is discussing as
oh
they
yeah,
were like growing up. Because
oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and like for him to just come out and like, I don't know, again, I'm a huge J. Cole fan because he's so good at like kind of bearing his soul, so to speak, on his songs, and he's like very open and like not afraid to rap about,
Hmm.
you know, stuff like this. Yeah, this was actually the very last song. I don't know why it took me so long to remember this song, but
Hmm.
this really should have been like one of my first picks because I've been listening to this song pretty regularly since it came out like 10 years
Yeah.
ago now or so.
Yeah, yeah, I can see why it took you a minute because you probably blacked it out of your head because this is like trauma that we, guys don't want to really think about that often. But yeah, like it's like I said, basically it's a coming of age story. His first time, having an intimate, having relations,
Having
as some people say.
relations. My
Yeah.
favorite thing about this song, I think, is the chorus is "I ain't never done that," or "I've never done that before." However it goes, like, and he just repeats that, "I ain't never done that before. I ain't never done that before." Like, this is my
Hmm.
first time, and like
Hmm.
again, like he's fake gravitas. He's like lying to her, saying, "Oh, I'm a pro, baby. You don't gotta worry about it. I know exactly what I'm doing." And like
Hmm.
the very last line of the song is her admitting to him, like, "I can tell you're a pro, but please be gentle because," and then the chorus comes back in with, "I ain't never did this before." And it's just like,
Hmm.
man, it's like full circle, beautiful
Just
storytelling. Like it
all
hits all the
that.
notes of like hitting that young, growing up, coming of age, like you said, but then it also just ties it all together beautifully. And it's just, mwah,
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah. The
Love
guy's
it to death.
masterful. I will say, J. Cole. I mean, the guy is a phenomenon.
Well, okay. Going on to Terrio's final pick. This is when I got I got a lot of things to say about this one. Okay, so the song is "My Deaf Brother," as in like deaf, like can't hear. "My Deaf Brother" by Stan Butler. I am so conflicted on this song. Terrio is. Do you know? Because I tried to Google it. Normally, I would wait and then ask you on air to hear for background information on artists and songs. Does he actually have a deaf brother? Do you know?
I don't know.
I tried to Google it, and all I found was other links to this song and like articles and stuff talking about this song or Stan Butler. I could not find if he actually has a deaf brother. I am very torn. If he has a deaf brother, and this is a real story that happened, it's a very wholesome, slightly funny story of a sweet moment between his girlfriend and his deaf brother. If he doesn't have a deaf brother, it's kind of a fucked up story making fun of deaf people. I feel like. um, And I've bounced from one side to the other all week long, and I cannot figure out where to land. It's,
I knew the song was gonna do it. I knew the song was gonna do it. I was like, you know what? It's a storytelling song. It tells
it
a
is
good
a great
story.
story.
It's a blues song.
It's
I
a
wanted
blues
to,
soulsy,
yeah,
nice.
I
He's
wanted
hitting
to
the
switch up the
notes.
genres a little bit, make it not all hip hop based. Hip hop is our foundation, but we want to build upon it. But yeah, I knew you was gonna have some thoughts on this one.
Yeah. So he comes in and he's quoting. He has a really fine girlfriend that he's coming over to meet his family for the first time, and he has a deaf brother that whenever he taps to get his attention, to introduce him to the girlfriend, he stands up, and his stepbrother, who, according to him in the song, has never spoken a day or a word in his life, attempts to say she's fine, but it comes out she's fine, just like that. And literally, dude, the first time I was listening to this, I was like, no way, he did not. He he didn't. This I'm having a stroke. I did not hear that right. The song is messed up and it's skipping.
the
I did
digital
not hear
song,
that. That's not
the
what
digital
happened.
song is skipping.
Yeah, like I was stretching for any excuse, and then of course that happens like 8 more times in the song, so it's kind of hard to keep saying that's the case. Um, Yeah, dude, how did you even find this song, bro? Like, are you a Stan
Oh,
Butler fan? Is this just one of those songs you randomly have come
oh
across? Like,
man, the origin of this song. I messed around and crossed the state line and went to Alabama.
oh, see, that
It's
was,
so anytime I bring up a blues song, it came from Alabama. So I was literally, oh, where was I? I think I was down there visiting for Thanksgiving or something, and my uncles and all of them were just cracking up. It was like, hey, you gotta hear this song, man. You gotta hear this song. What are we talking about, man? Hey, pull up that YouTube. You gotta listen to this song. And I had the same response you had. I'm sitting there listening to the song, like, okay, typical blues song talking about adultery or somebody fine or, smoking or whatever. Just typical blues song, whatever. And then that man said, and my brother, y'all, he deaf. He stood up and he said, she fine. I was like, yo, no, they did not.
yeah.
No, they did not do that. And then and he was like, he stood there, and, and my mom was like, I ain't never seen my son
And my
speak
dad
like
said,
this,
by
bro.
God, we just saw a miracle.
Bro. I was like, oh man, that's the one thing I love about blues songs. They'll make a song about anything.
Anything. Yeah. Literally anything under the sun could be a song if you just throw some blues chords and a slick blues scale in there. That's all you got to get.
That's it. But yeah, I was just like,
Oh man, look! I even as I was trying to find out if he actually has a deaf brother, I kind of started to lean more towards he doesn't because some of his other songs are, "I took Grandma to the club" and I forget something about a preacher cheating, a preacher having an affair, or something. It was a funny title, but both like they're both like
oh my
okay.
god.
I'm starting like I saw those two; those are like listed as like two of his like other bigger hits, right? So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he's just like a comedic guy. But then I was also at first I was like, okay, he's just a comedian. He's making fun of deaf people. But then I was like, well, no, you can be a comedian and like still have a deaf brother and this story be real. So I have no idea where to land on this dude. I will admit, I laughed. I'm not gonna say I didn't. I laughed.
I straight up did. I ain't gonna lie.
I laughed. I laughed pretty hard. Yeah, it definitely caught me off guard.
Oh man, when I heard this for the first time, I laughed so hard down there in Alabama with my folks. I was like, "Where do y'all find these songs?" And apparently, that's what's popping down there. And and ever since then, like it's just, this is the reason why I love blues. I mean, granted, some of the topics are just way out there and just outlandish and just straight up cartoony, but it's still funny though, and it's good music. And that's the thing. It's like
It
when the
was. I mean,
song,
he was very harmonic. He was.
oh
He's
yeah,
a good blues singer. Like just you take the subject matter out of it and just listen to the quality of his voice. He's a very good singer.
oh
Um,
yeah.
just again, just it's
She
the
she
context
she
of the
she
song.
she 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 fine.
And
And
like the fine is like a beautiful note. Like she fine, and he like holds the fine really nice.
yeah.
But then it's just like you can't even really appreciate it because you're cracking up from the she's before. Oh man.
Oh yeah, I love it.
That one was definitely. I even went and asked this lady that I work with most days. This was I think like Wednesday this week. I went in and I was like, okay, because I'd heard the song a few times at this point, and I was just like, again, I didn't know I was one side on one day, and then like at the end of the day, I'd be on the other side on like where I landed on it. And so I asked her, I was like, have you heard of Stan Butler and this song, My Deaf Brother? And she's like, no. What's it about? And I was like, well. It's about a guy. He has a deaf brother. And I basically just gave her the synopsis or whatever real quick. And I was like, yeah, so like whenever he stands up, and I just told her because we were at work, so I couldn't really have a chance to like play it for her. But just like telling her without playing it for her, just telling her like, yeah, so he sings up and he quotes his brother going, she fine. And she went and like covered her, like put her hands over her mouth and was like, and I'm like, right? I can't decide if it's bad or not. So that also
Yeah.
didn't help because like that day that I told her, I was that was after I'd thought about it. I was like, well, he could, even if he is doing it more comedically, he could have a deaf brother, and it's probably okay to laugh at it, and it's probably like, which I still think it's okay to laugh at it, but like he's probably like all in good fun or whatever. Like you don't think he's like,
hmm
And then she has that reaction, and I was like, okay, maybe maybe my
Yeah.
sense of humor is just too messed up to like realize this is bad. I don't know.
I mean, potentially. I mean, well, I know. Well, I can't speak for you. I know my sense of humor is crazy. So
Mine's pretty out there. Yeah, I think we're
yeah,
both similar in that
yeah,
regard.
yeah, exactly. But that being said, the song is a good song. Like, it's very soothing. I enjoy the blues part of it.
It's a very good
It's
bluesy song for sure.
it's super catchy and has a good ring to it. I mean, I don't know much of it beyond. I didn't do the deep dive on that one. Maybe.
I tried to, and there was not a lot of information about it.
Oh man, that's
Which
classic.
I didn't realize it only came out in like
It's
2020
recent.
or
Hmm.
2020 or 2021 because he only started making music in like the end of 2019. I think was whenever his like first songs came out, like September or
Hmm.
sometime in 2019. So he's only been making music for a few years. So
Exactly. Exactly.
who knows,
It's
man? In a
fair.
few years, we might be seeing this as like he might blow up or something. Who knows?
I mean, my deaf brother performed at the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Hey.
Move over, Rihanna.
Yeah. That would be something to see,
That would be
man.
hilarious. Speaking of which, not really speaking of which, we're at the end of the episode, y'all.
Yeah, those are
Thank
all of
you.
our picks, unfortunately.
It
Or
wasn't all
fortunately.
of our picks. I mean, we got some honorable
Well, those are all the picks
mentions.
we condensed and decided to talk about.
It's all the ones that we end up just settling on at the last
Yeah.
minute because, like, we kind of just did this crunch time. But trust us, we want to keep your attention as long as possible, but we're not trying to hold you hostage for 3 days because we can make a playlist that long if we choose
Yeah.
to. Thanks for listening to the show. Don't forget to follow us on all the things at After Listen Pod and visit us online at afterlistenpod.com for links and previous episodes. Keep on listening. Bye.
Bye.
She fine.
She fine.
She fine.
Can't get over it.